Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special video because we're going to talk about eyeshadow palettes, my favorite topic in the world. And today we're going to talk about all my jewel tone palettes that I have in my collection and which are like best of the best. So we are only going to talk about like my top favorite jewel tone palettes, and jewel tones are like my favorite colors, like favorite type of colors to wear on my eyes. And I have some great palettes in my collection. Some have been discontinued, some existing. So I cannot wait to share with you guys. And if you do have these palettes in your collection, I would highly insist you to get it back to work because there's truly some of the most amazing palettes that I have with me. So without further ado, let's begin. The first palette that we're going to talk about is like a very special palette in my collection because it's full of special shadows. It's an all shimmer palette, and I'm going to talk about my Sugar Drizzle MILF palette, and that stands for Man I Love Frogs. From the artwork to the shades that are inside this palette is truly breathtaking. Like, it has some beautiful purples, some greens, some iridescent multichromes. I recently did a look on my channel using like the mattes from another palette that I'm going to talk about, and this was the highlight of that eyeshadow. And this is like, it looks like a white shimmer shade. It's called Camouflage, and this has some beautiful tones. So let me just swatch it for you guys so that you can see like how many shifts it has. Like, it is beautiful. It has some pink, it has some green, it is, and when you like blend it down onto your eyes, it just goes like, it has like a transparent base. So you cannot even like see the eyeshadow, but as soon as the light hits it, bam, it is so pretty. You need to have this eyeshadow palette with you if you've not tested it out. And I love this shade, which is called Hop Along. It looks like a teal, purple, and this shadow, MILF, so pretty. And this one, Pond, oh my God, they have some great shadows with them. Let me show you some of the swatches. That's Hop Along, this is a MILF, and this is Pond. Oh my God, look at that. Look how smooth that is, and such a dimensional palette. Wow. Like, wow. So worth it. If you have not like encountered any multichrome, duochrome shadows, I highly suggest you to do that. And I would recommend you to start off with a palette so that you do not invest in like a single eyeshadows because they tend to be like super expensive. But if you have to start off, I would highly recommend you to start off with a palette. And this is like one of my recommendations that I would talk about in today's video because we have more to follow, which are like absolutely amazing. But this is so pretty. So the next palette that we're going to talk about is from Colourpop, and this is the At For A Sight palette. That this was in collaboration with Raw Beauty Christie, and this is a matte heavy palette, but these mattes have some beautiful tones, like jewel tones with them. I love to play with this palette. Like, if I'm looking for those jewel tone mattes, this is generally the palette that I go forward to. It's a shame that you cannot find it anymore, but if you do have this palette, do take it out in like the summer, fall months, and you would absolutely enjoy it. I love these tones. Like, let me swatch a few for you guys. At least show you how beautiful and pretty these tones are. Like, look at that. Look at these tones. Like, super opaque jewel tones. Wow, like stunning, like absolutely stunning. I would highly recommend this palette. If they bring it back, like definitely do not miss it out. And if you do have it in your collection, definitely get it out. But I also think like the It's a Mood palette from Colourpop do have these like jewel tones in that palette. So if you do not have this palette and you're craving those tones, I would highly recommend the It's a Mood palette from Colourpop. I think you'll absolutely love that too. Okay, now the brand that I'm going to talk about is It's Well Cosmetics, and both of these palettes are truly spectacular. I've actually one of the shadows from the It's Flare palette on my eyes. Actually, that's the only shimmer shadow that I have on my eyes, and it is this one, and it is called Larimar, and you can see It already has like a pan in it. That's how much I love that shade. Like, look at the dimension that it gives on the eyes, and it is so pretty. If you love, I would say, like, again, purples and greens with like a hint of pinks in it, you would absolutely love it. Like, for an everyday look, if you want something special and spectacular on your eyes, this shade, Citrine, it's so pretty, like so pretty. I just go straight away with my fingers and just tap it onto my eyes, and you'll get such a beautiful effect, like a scattered shimmer effect on your eyes. But if you want like punch on your eyes, I would highly suggest you to use it with like a glitter glue. NYX glitter glue is my best friend for that. You would get some opaqueness, and oh my god, that's so beautiful. The impact is absolutely breathtaking. I would highly suggest it. But this has some like different tones, I would say. Like, this shade is like smooth, like so smooth. Of course, I have to show Larimar. And these shades are like super spectacular. They're very opaque, and you need to see it. Like, so beautiful. Look at that. Look at those shimmers and the shifts going on. It's stunning, like absolutely stunning. That's Larimar, Citrine. Oh my beautiful god. Like, are you kidding me? I cannot rave about it, and I cannot wait to see what It's Spell Cosmetics has for us in future, because I think that's a great brand to even like discover. Another palette from them is this one, Break the Rules palette, and this is where my love affair with It's Spell started. This has some beautiful tones, like, and this definitely is like a jewel tone palette, and you need to see like how pretty these shimmers are, because oh my god, they are like so beautiful. Oh my goodness, I don't even know if I've done these swatches or not. Because I'm definitely doing like double swatches too, I think. Like, look at that. It is so pretty. So pretty. Like, do not sleep on It's Spell Cosmetics, because they have some beautiful, spectacular, dimensional, like lovely shadows. And they are so... like, you would not be disappointed. That's my guarantee. Like, I do have a code with It's Spell Cosmetics too. Check it in the description box below. I think it's Smithy Sony for additional 10% off. And oh my god, I just love them so much. Another brand that I love for their mattes, and I cannot stop wearing them. I'm blushing when I talk about it, because it's so pretty. I literally have not stopped wearing this from the time it's landed in my collection, and every time I do my makeup, I want to apply some of the shades from this palette. And I'm talking about Blend Bunny Cosmetics Primal palette. This, oh my god, I could have never imagined in a million years that I would fall in love with a rainbow palette, and this has made me fall in love with colors. Like, I love this. In today's eye look, this is what I'm wearing for my mattes. I have Ray in my... I started off with Ray in my crease, and then I went with Exotic in the outer corners, and I started blending it in the crease. And that's when I like lost Ray, because I started loving that shade, because Exotic is like one of my favorite shades in this palette. And then I blended this shade Exotic in the in the edges with the shade Rome. And that's what I blended it out with. And in my outer corners, the darker shade that you see is the shade Instinct here, the deep purple shade. And then I went with It's Spell Flare palette, Larimar on my eyes, and that's my look. In my inner corners, I actually used the Sugar Drizzle palette that I was talking initially, and I used the shade Ribbit, and that's what I have in my inner corners. Like, yeah. I just hopped along in all the palettes, and I created this look because I really wanted to. But again, if you're talking about like a beautiful matte, I do have a dedicated video using Primal palette on my channel. I'll link it in the iCards above for you guys to check it out. But I've done like several looks using this palette, and I cannot thank this enough to land in my collections. Like, I am in absolute awe with the formula. I absolutely love it. Now the next two palettes, again, I'm going to categorize it together because it's from the same brand. It's Odin's Eye, and I'm going to talk about Hummingbird palette and Giant Wolf's palette because these two palettes are beautiful, colorful jewel tone palettes that I absolutely love having. This is another palette whose mattes, shimmers, everything is like so blendable, and these shades are superbly unique in my collection. Like, look at those tones. They have some beautiful jewel tones. Again, you cannot find these two palettes just because this was like a collaboration palette and they've discontinued this. But nevertheless, I'm very, very aware of Odin's Eye formulas, and they have some beautiful palettes in their collection. If you find a color story that speaks out to you, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be disappointed with it. Like, I also have the Red Dragon palette from Judy, but just because it was like not a colorful palette, I didn't want to like bring that up. But yes, for like rainbow palettes, for colorful palettes, for jewel tone palettes, you'd call it, and you'll get it from Odin's Eye. Like, I absolutely love this brand. Okay, the next palette that I'm going to talk about, again, these mattes. Like, I fell in love with these mattes when I thought of jewel tone shadows. I tested this brand for the first time this year and I've fallen in love with it. And this is the Melt Cosmetics Amor Mariposa palette. And when I think of Melt Cosmetics, I really think of their jewel tone mattes. And this palette is full of that. From the greens to the oranges to the shimmers, and they also have like neutrals, they have purples, they have reds. They have some wonderful shades in their collection. I love this shade. I need to swatch this for you guys. And they have this. Their shimmers are also like spectacular, like absolutely spectacular. Let me swatch a few shadows for you guys, and you'll see like how beautiful these mattes are, because they're truly one of the amazing formulas that I've seen in my collection. The shimmers are super creamy, super blendable, and the mattes are stunningly beautiful. Like, look at that. These are some beautiful jewel tones. If you've not tested out Melt Cosmetics, I'm pretty sure you have heard about Melt because of their jewel tone shades. They're murky, like deep colors, and this is no exception. Like, I have absolutely fallen in love with this palette. And yes, this was a very pricey palette when it was launched, but right now on their website it is for $28, and it's a huge palette, and I am in love with all these shades. So I would say for $28, grab this baby, you'll not be disappointed. The next eyeshadow palette that I'm going to talk about, actually, I started my channel with this palette, so it definitely has like a strong connection with me. And I also love this palette because I feel like this was like my first high-end palette in my collection, and I fell in love with this brand's formula. For a reason, the shades, everything is amazing. Again, this is a discontinued palette, but nevertheless, like, it will always have that special place in my heart. And this is ABH Jackie Aina palette. Like, every shade that is being chosen in the palette is truly spectacular. Again, this palette also has some beautiful jewel tones, beautiful shimmers, beautiful depth in the palette. Again, I love that this palette goes from like very light shade to very deep shade, and this is truly a jewel tone palette for me. It has some reds, it has some purples, it has some greens, it has some oranges, it has some purples, mauves, pinks, some beautiful like neutral tones too, like this bronzy shade, this like pinky golden shade, this beautiful white gold shade. It is beautiful. I still to this date use this palette, and I fall for this palette like over and over again. I cannot thank Jackie enough for creating this palette for us. And yes, truly spectacular palette in my collection. I'm very sad that this is discontinued, but one palette that I would treasure in my collection definitely is this one. Okay, let's talk about a next palette, which I won't say recently landed in my collection, but if I fell in love with colors again, like light pastel shades, like colorful shades, I have to thank this palette for that. And this is Glamlite's Michaela palette. Now, Glamlite has some amazing formula with them, and this palette truly pushed me outside my comfort zone to play with colors and fall in love with colors too. I don't think you will be disappointed with this palette ever. Like I really feel like the shimmers are stunningly dimensional, and I have loved the mattes too. Like first 4 rows, totally my comfort zone, except this green, okay? I dread greens. I know, I say that, but I've done a lot of green eyeshadow looks recently. So I'm getting outside my comfort zone. I'm dipping my toes into greens, but I have loved this palette. Like I use most of the palettes, I would say, except those greens and blues, but everything else, I love it, like absolutely love it. And I think you will be excited too. If you are a person who does not wear colors and if you're scared of colors, I would say try this, and I think you'll fall in love with it. Especially if you are a purple person like me. They have some neutrals and they have some beautiful purples. And then they have a few shades for you to like dip into to get outside our comfort zone. And I think you'll absolutely love it. Like I love it. Let me actually swatch a few shades for you guys, so that you see how beautiful and spectacular this formula is. Seriously, it's just stunning, like absolutely stunning. I won't like swatch everything, but I need to swatch some things for you so that you exactly know what I'm talking about, because they're so pretty. Like look at that. Look at the formula, look at the dimension. Like how can you not play with this? I feel like this is such a perfect spring summer palette to have in your collection. And if you are a person who loves to play with colors, I mean, Michaela does some beautiful colorful looks. I would highly suggest you to check her out, and I'm pretty sure all of you are subscribed to her and all of you know her, because I'm a small person. I'm a small person in this YouTube world, but this is so good, like so good. Okay, 2 more eyeshadow palettes to talk from my collection, and both of them have been discontinued, so I'm going to quickly mention it. So Jaded palette from Colourpop. That was in collaboration with Kathleen Lights. Again, this is a palette that I really treasure. I really treasure this palette. Again, these are some beautiful jewel tone shades, but again, it has some beautiful neutrals also in their collection. This is a really well thought out palette, and I've loved using this. Like I generally go into this palette when I have to like, I have a specific look in my mind. That's when I know, okay, I can find it in my So Jaded palette. Let me snag it. But I'm pretty sure you can find these shades in the Colourpop family too. But this was truly special. I really love everything about it except the 2 glitter formulas that are in the palette, but otherwise I absolutely love it. Like love it. The last palette that I have to talk about, it's the Beauty Bay's Age of Opulance palette. Again, a formula I did not have like much expectations from it, but these tones like just spoke to me to another level. Like I love those purples, I love those pinky shades that were chosen in it, those green tones, those blues completely like knocked me off with their tones. The bronzes are stunningly beautiful. Like Beauty Bay's formula are like truly spectacular formula to have in your collection, and oh my god, these tones are like truly stunning. Let me swatch it for you guys. You see a pattern, right? I love my pinks, purples and my bronzes, but I also love blues thrown here and there. Like look at that. Look at the opaqueness of these shades, and look at the quality. The mattes are beautifully smooth. The shimmers are stunningly spectacular. Like I love these tones. Like if you cannot see, I mean, I absolutely love these palettes, and I cannot rave enough about them. Again, if you cannot find Beauty Bay's Age of Opulence palette, they do recently have like a blue purple palette in their collection, or if you are more of like a green person, they do have like a monochromatic green palette also with different tones. I'm pretty sure if you do not have this palette, and if you were like eyeing Beauty Bay's formula, I would say give it a chance because these formulas are absolutely beautiful. You just need to find out like what is your color story that you would want to try from them, and I think you'll not be disappointed because the formula is top notch and the quality is stunning, like absolutely stunning. So that's all for today, guys. I really wanted to talk about all my colorful palettes in my collection, and that's what I did. I really hope that this video was entertaining for you guys. If you did like it, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.